the power of your womb. What the womb is, because both men and women have an energetic womb, and why it matters, how to connect, what happens if you're afraid of connecting, what happens if you feel like it's dead, what happens if you have fears come up. That's the topic of today's Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, International Soul Embodiment Guide and Relationship Expert. I want to dive in because this question came up recently. I do a lot of womb work with my clients or my programs, and in the middle of doing a Sacred Feminine Power retreat in Greece at the time that this comes out, recording this early before that. And the ancient oracles, for example, would channel Gaia through the womb. And that's because the womb is a portal to so much more than ourselves. I'm going to start by describing what the womb is, the energetic womb, because the energetic womb is not the actual physical uterus. The energetic womb is essentially your whole pelvis. It extends from your perineum through your sacrum, through that low back, up through the sexual organ, the low belly, and just above the belly button, and then around on both sides. If you're a woman, then it includes your two ovaries, your left and right ovary, and of course, it also does include your uterus, cervix, all of it. But that this is an energetic space. In some traditions, they call an aspect of that the Dantian. This is an energetic space in which you connect with your innermost needs, feelings, and desires. It is also where you can connect to the womb of the earth and the womb of the Divine Mother. This isn't really talked about enough. Our womb is our source of life force energy. I teach a lot about sexuality, sacred sexuality, and reclaiming sexuality as your own. That's a huge passion of mine. It's in my forthcoming book. It's in a lot of my offers. And this life force energy is often clogged, so to speak, stagnant in the womb space, precisely because we're not accessing our inner needs, feelings, and desires, and we're not letting them move. We're not letting them come to the surface. We're not letting them be seen. We're not letting them be heard. And so they get pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. And all that does is create stagnancy, and it stagnates your life force energy. It's why you don't feel fully alive, fully radiant, even fully in your body. Because in order to come into your body, you got to get into your body, which is anchoring into your womb space, anchoring into your pelvis, anchoring into your legs, anchoring into your feet. That can also be where we hold the most trauma. It can be where we have put all the things that we don't want to feel, we've turned away from, which is very much connected to not wanting to feel the pain, not wanting to breathe into all of life, not wanting to face the parts of ourselves we don't like. That's why activating your life force energy requires a process, requires a journey. Now, I do have a program on that called the Sacred Body Wisdom Online Series. It activates your life force energy as you follow the teachings and the practices, and you'll receive those energetic activations immediately when you sign up. That's at thepathtosovereignty.com. Also, your womb, not only is it your innermost experience, not only does it connect you to your life force energy and to the earth womb and to the womb of the Divine Mother, it's also where you can feel and tap into really deep sexual pleasure and connection. And when your womb is full of the stagnant energy, or when you feel numb, or when you feel disconnected, it's harder for that pleasure to be embodied. It's harder for you to receive pleasure, even feel those parts of yourself, to connect to your own desires, and to really allow yourself to soften in to those experiences. As you desire to connect with the womb, because of course, everything we do starts with a desire, You desire to connect with the womb, or you desire to have a relationship, or you desire to open your heart, or you desire, right? Desire is the essence of life itself, which is why it's been so forbidden, because when you're not fully alive, you're definitely not sovereign. And then, little easy to be controlled at that point. We walk around numb, then we're not in our most thinking state and questioning. So I digress. When you go into the womb space, what can often happen is that things come up that you don't want to see or hear. I have done other episodes on this, so tune into those on how to go into the body, how to see what you don't want to see. I believe that episode is called Blocks to Transformation. Really, you have to create the internal safety that allows you to see, and you also have to be willing to feel that which you don't want to feel. That requires time and building those inner resources, or support someone like myself who can help you do that, or a therapist, or somebody who's really embodied and done this work themselves. You have to create the safety for your system to know it's safe to feel the things that it thinks are going to destroy it. Because unconsciously, that's why we suppress it. We feel like, if I feel that grief, I'm going to die. If I feel that anger, I'm going to be in such a rage, I'm going to kill someone or something or myself. Or, right, these things that the mind says, if I go into that darkness, I'm never going to get out. And none of that is actually true, because it's all energy, and none of it is you. None of it is who you are. None of it belongs to you. But you have to know that and work on that mental construct and that observer consciousness in order to get there. And you need this observer consciousness, this quote, divine masculine, this ability to observe, to be conscious of, to witness, to hold space for. You need that in order to go into the womb space. You need that in order to honor your feminine, right? Talk about masculine and feminine. You cannot be in your feminine without your masculine, because you have to be able to observe and witness energy and thoughts and emotions without attachment or identification or judgment. In order to go into the body, you have to be able to do that. And then you observe what arises. Your heart acknowledges it, doesn't push it back down, it doesn't minimize it, doesn't diminish it. You allow it to breathe, you allow it to come out, you allow it to be there. That's why you can increase your life force energy by breathing into everything. Even if you don't like it, you just and then breathe into it, and then you also let it go when you breathe it out. You're breathing life into you when you do this. You're bringing that life force into you. And I've had somebody recently say that they felt like their womb was dead. And why even go there? Why even bother? Because my womb feels dead. And I know I've had this trauma. And I know I had these things that I suppressed when I was younger. And I really encourage them to go there anyway. Because your womb doesn't actually die. Your womb might go offline. You might disconnect from your womb. But the wisdom and the information stored within never dies. That wisdom is gold. Your inner experience is golden. Most women's hearts go out, they don't anchor into the womb, and it can become very easy to get disconnected from the core down. Because we go out to other people, to other situations, take care of this, take care of them. What are their feelings, their needs? Have you ever been in that experience where you're like, their feelings matter so much and I want to hear them, but you don't know your own feelings, you're not hearing you? Very common. Disconnection from the womb space. Ultimately, what I want to guide people into, which I do in Sacred Body, which I do in some of my offerings, is to anchor heart into self. When I work with people one-on-one, a lot of what we're doing is anchoring the heart back into self. As you realign to the truth of who you are, release what is not your truth, and own your divine power and sovereignty. Again, this is a journey, but I'm speaking in simple terms so that you have the idea and the knowing of what that journey looks like. so that you can start to move into it, move toward it, and deepen into it if you're already on it. It never ends. I've been on this journey for over 16 years consciously, and it never ends. You just deepen and evolve into deeper and deeper layers of self, and it gets to be more and more exciting. And the less that you attach to what's coming up as being any part of you, the easier it is, the smoother it goes. That's one of the things I really help people do. Okay, so get back to that conversation around the womb. It does not ever die. And you do have to choose to go in. You have to choose to connect, because what you're devoted to is the gold that you're going to find. What you're devoted to is connecting to your inner self. What you're devoted to is connecting to this portal that will bring you into ultimately deeper connection with all of life. There's a lot of talk in the spiritual world around oneness. In order to be one with everything, you have to be one with you, because you are one with everything. And therefore, if you're not one with you, you're not one with everything. Oneness starts with oneness within, inner sacred union. And you have to be willing to come into contact with you, to know you. And as we do this, we realize that we are one with everything. And your body is a portal to that. Your body is a portal to the divine. And you go into and you connect with that oneness, that web of life, that infinite web of life. By the way, the web of life activation is part of the Sacred Body online series. You go into the web of life and you are able to receive from it, receive that love, receive that support, receive that wisdom, receive that intuition, that inner knowing, and create magic and miracles in your life. From this place of inner union, you're able to go in and connect with the earth as a living, breathing, conscious entity that speaks to you and informs you and helps you and shows you the way. You're able to connect so deeply with these ancient aspects of yourself and your power and your gifts and your abilities, all by going into your body. And because a womb is such a massive portal, so is the heart. Really, all of it is. I mean, let's be real. Every chakra is a massive portal. The womb is one of them. And it takes you into these infinite places of connection with the deepest, 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 most ancient parts of you if you let it. And if you spend time there and you open to the mysteries, it can bring you into greater alignment with your soul's mission and purpose on this lifetime. And it can bring you into ecstatic sexual experiences. It can bring you into sacred union with others. And it all starts with you saying, yes, I'm willing to create time and space to go into my womb, to spend time here, to hear and to see and to feel. And then you trust, and then you trust, and then you trust. My inner voice, my intuition has taken me into places my mind could never even imagine, even if it wanted to. Because I'm not living from my head. I'm not living from what the world says is possible. I'm living from soul. There's a big difference, I promise you. There's a big difference. I used to be a criminal prosecutor and attorney. I know very much what it's like to live from the logical mind, from the neck up, and to do what the world says you're supposed to do. And that didn't work for me. I mean, it worked for me. I was quite successful, but it didn't work for my soul. And there's just it's not that one is bad or wrong. It's just that it's a completely different way of living life. A completely different way of living life. To live as the divine being you are and create miracles and magic and experience it every day. Very different way of living in the world. And it requires being in your body, connecting down into your heart, into your womb. And that's the power that you have. That's a power that's available to you. And there's a reason that so many have been disconnected from the womb, because it contains so much power. It's for more than bearing babies. This is another thing that this person said, is that they hadn't born any children, and so it shut down. I've also had people say that they've had menstrual issues, and so they shut down and disconnected. It's come up several times the past few weeks in these workshops and conversations. Again, it didn't shut down, you disconnected. you turned away. And to reconnect is to re-enliven, which is to bring back into life that which you think has died. And you have the power to resurrect through the power of love, the power of your heart. And so I am encouraging you to resurrect all parts of yourself back into life. All parts of you back into life, back into wholeness, back into union. I'm here as a guide. If you want support in that inner union and that sovereignty and that reclamation, that Sacred Body Wisdom series I mentioned is a really powerful way to do that. And it's incredibly affordable. And I have an energetic sovereignty course that will be coming up soon, as well as the divine activation portals that are one-on-one. I've always got retreats coming up. So go to thepathtosovereignty.com, see what feels right for you, or just schedule a time to chat and we can find the right fit for you based on where you are and what your desires are. So if this has been helpful for you to understand more the power of your womb, what's in it and why and how to go in, then share it with a friend, like, subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of the Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast. And I will see you next week. Lots of love.